Om Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Sri Saraswatye Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Vyasa Shankara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Vande Guru Paramparam. Sruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Loka Shankaram Samasta Jana Kalyani Yaratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Om Sri Tapavana Sishyaya Namaha Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Hari Om. So let us chant the Shanti Patha of the Sikshavalli. Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Bruhaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Utam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvatvaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Bhaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we have completed so far 8 Anuvakas of the Taittiriya Upanishad Sikshavalli. We started the 9th Anuvaka, and then this particular Anuvaka itself is called Swadhyaya Prashamsa. The importance of Swadhyaya is explained and praised. What is Swadhyaya? Self-study and learning from Mahatmas and then repeating it and practicing it daily. Bhagavan Shankaracharya says we should at least chant one section of our Veda, Krishna Yajur Veda, one section, one Upanishad, Vishnu Sahasranama, and then Purusha Suktam, Rudram, like that. One like that. He gives about 5 of them. So those who cannot do that, of course, at least you can say Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame, like that. So it is important to appreciate the value of the Swadhyaya because it gives you the vision of life. Swadhyaya as well as Pravachana, both are important. It gives you a vision of life. The problem that we face is our vision of life is limited to what our senses present. So basically, they are Ardha and Kama, but not Dharma and Moksha. But purpose of life is actually Moksha. What is Moksha? Realizing who you are while alive and understanding the limitations of the world and avoid the dependence of the world. That's for pure liberation. Anuvaka number 10 that follows actually talks about the experience of a realized person called Trishanku. So that should be our goal of life. How would that happen? If you do self-study of the scriptures and study from the Mahatmas from the scriptures or study groups these days, listen to the talks, and then you also remember them and also teach to the other people as best as you can. Then it becomes a part of your thinking process. And then accordingly, rest of them will follow. So otherwise, only joys and enjoyments and then entertainment takes over. So in this mantra number, Anuvaka number 9, it says, Nutancha Swadhyaya Pravachanacha. We talked about last week, Satyancha Swadhyaya Pravachanacha. Be truthful and also daily study and teach. Tapascha Swadhyaya Pravachanacha. Do tapas, austerities, and also study and teach. It's interesting. Swadhyaya Pravachana repeats in every instruction. These are instructions for us. Damascha Swadhyaya Pravachanacha. Sense control as well as daily study, reflection, and teach. Now, Dhamma is sense control. I mentioned last week. What is most important thing about sense control is we define our life the way senses present to us. If we don't discriminate what is to be indulged and what should not be indulged, that becomes primary purpose of our life. Both sukha and dukkha. And in addition to that, we develop a habit in the mind to project happiness into the world. So, same thing with shama. Shama means mind control. So I want to take a little bit more time on this because this is extremely very important point. So if you know in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Sri Krishna about the characteristics of the Sita Prajna. And they are described from the question itself is asked by Arjuna in verse number chapter 2, verse number 54. He asks how a Sita Prajna, his mental condition is, and how he talks, like that, blah, 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 from 54. Now, from 54 up to 72, Sri Krishna explains how a Sita Prajna operates and what is state of mind. Now, you would be surprised to know quite a few verses in this section. Bhagavan Krishna says, Sita Prajna has his senses under control. That is the. So he says, I will say a few, but it will be very quick summary I give. Verse number 58. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajna pratisthita. So the word tasya prajna pratisthita repeats in this quite a few times. So he says that person whose senses are withdrawn from danger, just like a tortoise withdraws its limbs from when a dangerous situation arises. In the same way, a person of discriminating intellect. Sthita prajna means one who is established the clear clarity of the intellect and mind, emotion. That person, when he contacts the world, he knows it's just a trap. It does not give you lasting happiness. And that is how does he use example? Very few examples are given in Gita. One of them is this. Just like a tortoise withdraws its limbs, he withdraws his limbs from objects of pleasure that catch you up and bind you. Now, how? Because he has trained not to be controlled by them. So it's important, it's training. How the training takes place? If you listen to the scriptures and then if you reflect upon them, your mind controls your senses, and mind and intellect control the sense. So the knowledge that you gather through hearing the value of this sense control helps you to control and maintain a life of dharma. That's why Swadhyaya and Pravachana are important. Then a question could usually come, it is very difficult. The answer also Bhagavan gives, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param društva nivartate. What we think world is controlling us, but the moment you start exercising discrimination in life, as a Sthita Prajna does. Sthita Prajna means one established in wisdom. What is good, what is bad, what gives you long-term happiness, what is only short-term entrapment. That clarity he has. For him, it is not that difficult if we, in the beginning, exercise some discrimination, automatically Vishaya vinivartante. The sense objects will go leave you. They never came as boss. They just came as guest. You are the boss. But then when you promote them into boss level, then you become the slave. They take over you. So if you never indulge knowing it is only a trap, it does not give you permanent happiness. Slowly, Vishaya Vinivartante, the friends who offer you drinks, who offer you to go out and party and hang out, all those people will stop coming to you. Because you have now refraining from ignorant pursuits. So what is the difference? Earlier you encouraged them. Now you stopped encouraging it and they stop coming to you. So Vishaya, the whole world withdraws as you control yourself. The Vishaya. So this is how it works. The reason it works is you have always been the reason why they are coming to you. They were never independent. You are the boss. Just like when you are walking a dog, is the dog walking you or you are walking the dog? Many often you can see the dog is walking you, but the reality is senses are like dogs. They just keep going wherever they want, but you have to have a leash. That's all. But they are hard. Atho hepi kaunteya purushasya vipassatha indriyani pramadhini haranti prasavam mana. Usually they are difficult because they are strong. They pull you in their various directions. 60th verse. Then he says now, 61st verse says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Whoever understanding the goal of life, asita matparaha, if he can control those, then they come under control. That is where Swadhyaya is important. Guru is important. Reading scriptures are important. Reflecting upon the value system is important. That is only possible through Shastra, from the elders and Guru. And then learning from the world using the light of Shastra. So he says, Tasyahi yasya indriyani tasya prajna. Whoever has the senses under control, his wisdom is preserved. Otherwise, it is looted. So, anyway, so these are some fantastic verses. I used to chant daily these verses. So one more sloka, two more slokas I will say then. Indriyanam charatam yan manonudithiyate tadashardi prajnam vayurnava mimambhasi. Tasmadyasya mahabaho nigruhitana sarvasya indriyani indriyarthebhya tasya prajnava 67 and 68. Indriyanam charatam yan mana anuvidhiyate. Tadashardi prajnam vayurnava mimambhasi. Another example he gave here. That person who is always dragged by the senses, and then his mind also follows. You see a person, then your senses are now following that person in your mind. Person has already left, but your senses are not dwelling, your mind is dwelling in it. So what happened? You have trained your mind without your knowledge to look for such kind of objects and projecting that kind of happiness in objects. Then what happens? Tadasya harati prajna. Your intellectual self-control and wisdom, harati, prajna means wisdom, harati, it is along with the same mind, it goes. How? Vayurnava mivambhasi. Just like a boat lost in the oceans is tossed by air, wind. This is our life. That's what Shastras we have to do. If you have control over your life, you have control over your happiness. Happiness never came from outside. With happiness, you project happiness toward. That's why he concludes 68th verse. Tasmad yasya mahabaho nigruhitani sarvasaha indriyani indriyarthepihya tasya prajna pratisthita. The person who has his senses withdrawn, or correct word is trained to withdraw, nigruhitani sarvasaha, from all directions, from senses, his prajna pratisthita. That is the characteristics of the man of wisdom. See, man of wisdom lives 24/7 in happiness. We live happiness when our object of happiness we have temporary. That's all it is different. That's the difference. So, and that's what he actually talks about next verse for 69th, 16th verse. So, and then Shama, next to this Shama. Shama means mind control. Mind control, again, he has few verses in Bhagavad Gita, same context. I will chant few of them. See, these are very important. They're available to us. Some of these, if you chant, quickly you get established. You avoid bad company. Avoid thinking about useless people. Avoid listening to things that are constantly driving your attention away. It happens when you exercise some clarity by reading scriptures. That's a daily reading is a help. Actually, in the list, one chapter of Bhagavad Gita also Bhagavan Shankaracharya mentioned. Earlier I did not mention that. He says, these two slokas about the intellect and the mind. He says, how attachment builds. He said, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangaha Teshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamha Kamat Krodho Bijayate. As you keep thinking, whatever it is, outside objects or inside, Phalavyapti takes place. Phalavyapti means it becomes into a nature. Initially, it is just a information. It's called Vritti Vyapti in the language of Vidyaranya Swami. In 10th chapter of, 7th chapter called Trupti Deepa, he talks about this. Vritti Vyapti is okay, if information is okay, but Phala Vyapti means you are lighting it. You live in the world, but let it pass. Don't pay attention to most of the 99, as I said last week, 60,000 thoughts come. 99% of them are repeated. Vritti Vyapti can take from here or from outside. Phala Vyapti takes place when you give reality to it. So here, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. Dhyayato means you are making it real to you. Phala Vyapti, any thought that comes, you are dwelling on it. That makes Dhyayat. Sangaha Teshu Upajati. You develop attachment to that. It is not that you are the boss. It is they're slowly conditioning you. Sangaha Sanjayate Kamha, the more it becomes attached, it becomes into desire. Kamat krodho bhijayate. Then if you don't get it, you get angry, likes and dislikes, all those things. Like this, happiness is next sloka number 64. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyeshwaran atmavasser vidhayatma prasadam adhigachyati. If you live with a mind free from the entrapping cyclical thoughts of likes and dislikes, and be atmavasya, and have this self-control, vidheyatma, mind following you, not like you following the dog, but dog following you. Vidheyatma, here atma means mind. Prasadavati gachyati. Prasada means prakarshena sadam, means happiness, peace. So this is not a rocket science. It is just actual life story of all of us. Ignore what you don't need it. What you have to act upon it. Don't constantly stimulate yourself with desires that have no sense. Otherwise, our life, even if there's 80, 90, also same thing, routine continues. Same thoughts repeat, same questions arise. See, actually 66 also. Nasti buddhi rayuktasya nachayuktasya bhavana. Nacha bhavayata shantihi. Ashantasya kuta sukham. Bhagavan. These are some of the very powerful verses. See, if you do not have mind, intellect and mind integrated into your control process, ayuktasya. Yukta means that who has his mind operates as per the intellect, which is trained by Shastra. Bhagavad Gita, yes, and understands the value of happiness, where it comes from. For him, if you don't ask the buddhi, if you are ayukta, if you don't have integrated, mind is pulling in one direction, intellect says no, 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 but he has no control. You are ayukta. If you are not yukta, bhavana, it doesn't come. What is bhavana? Reveling in yourself. That is source of happiness. Nacha bhaveta santi. If you cannot bhava, if that bhava, power of love for yourself is when it vanishes, shanti is not there. So you love something more than what you are. That is what is that. But that's what mind can do. Ashantasya kutas sukham. Where is happiness if you are not peaceful? These slokas from 54 to 72, chapter 2, they are very powerful. Samadama, why they are so important? Bhagavan Krishna answers those extremely crucial slokas. Now, Samadama, I wanted to highlight in part because time passes, but points we don't get. These are all consistent with what Shankaracharya, what Bhagavad Gita says. So these points we have to kind of reflect. That's what wisdom is. That is Swadhyaya Pravachana. That is what Swadhyaya is. You connect and then you change yourself. A vision you preserve inside you. Now, so yasamasya agnayasya swadhyaya pravachane agnaya, and then next I will read that also. Agnihotrancha swadhyaya pravachane. These are rituals, daily rituals. See, swadhyaya and pravachana, you can categorize, if you take the Deva, Rishi, Pitru, Bhuta and Manushya, so Pancha Mahayajnas. Swadhyaya comes in the character of Rishi Yajna. Okay. Agnihotra, daily Agnihotra, it comes under the character of Daiva Yajna. Yajna means worship in an attitude of surrender, in an attitude of respect, in an attitude of holiness. Like when you go to Balaji temple, mind has to be withdrawn and be between one and There's two only, you and Balaji. The same way, Agnihotram is there. In your house you can do it. Now, Agnayascha and Swadhyaya Pravachanam. Daily perform the sacrificial ritual of Agni. A little bit of, a lot of us do not know this because we are not, we are brought up in modern education and then we didn't follow. But then some interesting words are there. Just say, I'll quickly go through them. See, Bhagavan in his he says Agni Adhanam, he says in his commentary. Agni Adhana means when you get initiated into married life, you have Agnihotra is part of the marriage responsibilities. The kindle Agnihotra and the Agnihotra. Then you have to preserve, the Grihastha has to preserve, and that person is called Ahitagni. All his life, he does daily worship of that. And that is called Agnihotram. That Adhana means preserving it, maintaining it without extinguishing, maintaining it. Then it's called Garhapatya Agni. Because it's in Gruha, it's always there. Then if there are some other Naimittika rituals, they are taken from there. They're called Avaniyagni and Dakshinagni. But this source is preserved. Of course, there are some times when you cannot do these things because if you get a sutam or something like that, so that do 10-15 days, you take a break, then you do prayaschitta and then you continue. This responsibility stops when a person passes or the person's wife passes. And interestingly, the Agni is used to cremate the person. Along with him, Devata also travels. This is how it is done in the olden days. So, just good information. Those who do some upasana of Agni, they benefit a lot. There are some mantras, what you call it, just patana. Daily patana mantras are also some people do because you cannot do Agnihotra in America and all that. So mantras you just patana and then you invoke in your heart. That's something that also can do. Pratara upasana mantra patanam karishye. This mantra patanam karishye. And then, so this is, Hyderabad also some people told me you do this and then I learned from him. So in cities also in India it has become difficult. Anyway, so this is Agnihotram. Agnihotram is Deva Yajnam. It comes under Deva Yajna. Deva Rushi Pitru, right? So we talked about Rushi, then this is Deva Yajnam. Then Agnihotram Swadhyaya Atidhayascha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. And the next one is Manushancha Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Atidhi is a person who drops by without appointment. Atidhi. That's how it comes. Tithi means appointment. Atidhi means without appointment. They just come. In India, I remember in my village, so many people used to suddenly come. And then we have to treat them as a family members, respect them, then feed them and then provide them place to rest. Then next day they leave sometimes. Or sometimes they stay 1 or 2 extra days. Then it is a problem. I remember once I was walking with my father, and then there was a Mahatma just walking in the street. And then I went immediately and talked to him and brought him to the house. And then they had he said, I don't come to the houses. So he stayed in a Chaudhary, Shankar Matha. And then they had a satsang with him in the evening. So people like that, they just respect Mahatmas. You can recognize them. They come under loo and then orange clothes and then, And usually they have the times that are available is very limited. So like that. Adithaya, Atithi means a person without Tithi. Manusham cha, human beings. Whoever you can help, whichever way you can help, within your capacity. Also your family members, you have to give them whatever you can. So Atithaya, Manushaya. This is Manushya. Okay. The next is again Manushamcha Swadhyaya Pravachane. Again, it repeats that, Prajacha Swadhyaya Pravachane. Prajanasya Swadhyaya Pravachane. Prajapatisya Swadhyaya Pravachane. These three come into Pitru Yajna. See, our Vedic or Hindu life is composed of various sacraments, samskaras. At the time of marriage, then you take a vows, dharma patni, and then purpose of the marriage is not just, actually it's not only enjoyment. It is the walk together, controlling your senses within the parameters of married life, so that together you go higher life. Walk towards the spiritual life, dharma and moksha. You make company, support one another in the direction of going to higher life. That is how our sacraments are. And then dharma vows are taken at the time of marriage. So then you are supposed to have prajacha swadhyaya pravachanecha. A part of the agreement is of the marriage. You should beget children. For grihasthas, those who want to take sannyas and like Shankaracharya, that is a different path. But this is 99% of the people plus. They should, part of the requirement to make the forefathers Pitru happy is also to have children. So the Veda, the Upanishad itself is telling you, Prajacha Swadhyaya Pravachanacha, beget children and continue your study. Of course, it's called Garbhadhana, and then children are born, they get Namakarana, Samskara. These are all Samskaras. Samskara means you are preparing a mind which is looking for a higher life. Samskarana means purifying the personality. Anyway, this is how the world is structured. Then he said, Prajanasya Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Enjoy, have a procreation relationship with the wife. That's not an issue. Make sure you have a rightful way of procreation and then produce children. Prajatisya Swadhyaya Pravachanecha. Prajati means grandchildren. So here the responsibility extends. Not only you beget children and then give them samskara, you also grandchildren, you get them married. Prajati. And then swadhyaya pravachanecha, and continue teaching them also. So this is a system for thousands of years we followed, and that's why our Vedas are preserved. And then somebody from outside came and says they changed the system, and that it affected us. But then in the current modern context again, we have Gurukulas coming up, like Sandipani and some other places. Krishna Mission also has Gurukulas. So in a modern way, because God's sankalpa, Rishi Yajna, the people who have that to surrender, they come up with a way of maintaining Rishi Yajna, teaching and supporting. Whatever you can do, you can send some money to some Vedic Patasalas or some Chinmaya Mission or Ramakrishna, whatever, or, to the organization where they're teaching scriptures. There are a lot of Puranas or and activities are going on. You can attend them and also support them. So, now, next, Satyamiti Satyavacha Radhi Taraha. Sorry. Now there is a discussion going on. You are given about a dozen plus values. Of course, in every one of them, Swadhyaya Pravachanacha is included. Because mind, mental vision has to be preserved. Otherwise, nothing will follow. Shastric outlook in life, or nothing will follow. So the discussion going on about between few people. What is the highest in this question was raised. Satyamiti Satyavacha Radhi Taraha. There is a person called Radhi Taraha. What is his adjective? Satyavacha. He is always truthful. Vacha, by walk. See, next Valli, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. There it is different. It's absolute conscious essence. Sat, it comes Sat. Here, it's a transactional value of Satyam, in truth. What the Radhi Taraha, he said, of all these virtues, Satyam is most important. Why? Because he is a follower of Satyam. So whatever value you follow, our Gurudev is to say, whatever value you follow, it will lead you to other values. But you feel that value is the most important. Satyamiti Satyavacha, Satyamiti Satyavacha, Radhi Taraha said Satyam is the most important. The kind of conversation is going on. Tapa iti tapo nitya paurusishtaha. There is a gentleman by name Paurusishtihi. He is the son of Purushishta. There's that apatyartham. Pauru will come. So, Paurusishtihi, he said, he is a tapo nityaha. He is established in austerities. Nitya. He said, Tapa iti. Tapa is the greatest virtue. Swadhyaya pravachane eveti nako maudgalyaha. There is a great person, Rishi. His name is Nakaha. Who is he? Is a maudgalyaha. Is a Mudgala Rishi's lineage or son, you can say. Anything is possible. Related to Mudgala in a family tree. Mudgala. So this guy is Maudgalya because related to him. He says Swadhyaya Pravachana Eviti. He said Swadhyaya Pravachana is the greatest virtue. Obviously, for reasons I mentioned earlier, everything follows. If you have that daily practice of this. Then final conclusion is Tadhi Tapaha. Last one, Tat. So Swadhyaya Pravachana is the real Tapa. That's the conclusion. Tadhi Tapaha. Once again, refer Tadhi Tapaha. That's why I repeated that to tell you that is the ultimate. So the bottom line is there are so many virtues. All of them are important. But they mentioned 3 specifically. Okay. That's what Bhagavan writes like that, Bhashya. 3 specifically are mentioned. And because of that, those 3 are, of all of them, those 3 are most important. That is Satyam and Tapa and Swadhyaya. Out of the list, these three were filtered out. Out of those three also, Swadhyaya and Pravachana is the most important. That is the conclusion. That's what called Swadhyaya Prashamsa. Of course, the change will only come when you follow. And if you have a question, how do you follow? You read one chapter of Bhagavad Gita daily. Minimum. That is Swadhyaya. Attend study groups. Conditioning mind has to be turned, re-educated, because we have educated ourselves ignorantly in a wrong way. That vision has to come through intellect. That is only possible to study groups or satsangs, listening to pravachans, and then reading it and then reflecting upon it. That's right. So, a little bit of Bhashya I can read here. Because Shankara's Bhagavan's Bhashya is very powerful in these things. Let me see. I made some notes where to read it. Anyway, one thing is missing here. We did not see Bhuta Yajnam is not mentioned. You have to include. That's what some of the commentators say. So very often, particularly in America, people want to meditation first. But it doesn't work. You have to daily, you have to have a routine and you have to sit and then you have to reflect and have the mind that is prepared. Our Gurudev used to say, how long do you meditate? Somebody asked him. He said, 24 hours. And then he used to say, you meditate for 30 minutes, prepare for 23.5 hours. That is Swadhyaya. You are reflecting upon the content of what you have learned. And what is that does? It creates a mind that is free from rat. Shanti. Yukta. Mind and intellect get aligned. Manas is that which has this. Intellect is that it picks. If it picks the quietude, Shanti, that's the training of Shastras. Now, if you know Patanjali Yoga, Patanjali Maharshis, he says Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. 8 of them. So he actually said Dhyana at the 7th. He didn't say Dhyana meditation in the beginning. Why? Because people tell you, we sit in the class and they say, oh, meditate, you are meditating, okay, you close your eyes and it feels good. But you didn't get anything really. You have no transformation that has happened. Camps and all that feel good and all that. So, but the most important thing from the camp is knowledge. And then in that knowledge, you meditate every day. So, Sankara Bhashya, we'll read a little bit, 55 and 56. I didn't mark it. Okay. I have a last part. Satyam iti satyam eva anustatavyam iti satyavachaha satyam eva vachaha yasya saha ayam satyavachaha. Satyam is the ultimate, is said by Satyavacha. He ended. Nama va tat tasya radhitaraha. Radhitaraha gotraha radhitaraha acharyo manyate. He is from the family of Radhitara and his gotra is Radhitara. Tapa iti tapa eva kartavyam iti tapo nitya tapas nitya tapa paraha tapo nitya iti va nama. Paurusishti, Purushishtasya apatyam Paurusishti. He is the son of Purushishti. He has told Tapa is great. Acharyo manyate. स्वाध्याय प्रवचन एव अनुष्ठेय इति नाको नामतः मुद्गलस्य अपत्यं मौद्गल्यः. I think I explained all of this. Acharyo manyate. Tadhi tapah, tadhi tapah. Now he says here, Yasmat swadhyaya pravachane eva tapah tasmat eva anusteya iste iti uktanam api satya tapaswadhyaya pravachanam punah grahanam adarartham. He said at the end twice swadhyaya pravachana tadhi tapaha, it's twice it is said. And he said that is to inculcate Shraddha in us. So from now before we go to Dasam Anuvaka, I will read what Bhagavan Shankaracharya says as the introduction, because this particular mantra is very famous, because it is actually an expression of infinitude a person has experienced through the sadhana, Swadhyaya Pravachana, and then following the rituals. Now a question might come in our mind, rituals are ultimate. Oh, so to clear that, he says, Aham mukshasya reriva iti swadhyayartho mantramnaya. Swadhyaya cha vidyotpattaye prakaranat. The purpose of Swadhyaya is for gaining self-realization, vidya, but dharma and moksha. Mantramnaya, it is a mantra that is repeated. It becomes prakarana. Vidyartham hi idam prakaranam. For the self-realization alone, this topic is raising. Nacha anyarthatvam avagamyate. Not for karma as such. Swadhyayena cha visuddha sattvasya vidyo utpattihi avakalpate. So rest of them are preparation for Swadhyaya and all these things are preparation for vidyotpatti, for jnana. Not, it has independent value, doesn't have other than preparing the ground where you be yourself. And then you also know out of you everything is rising. That is jnana. Now with this, we'll chant the verse, mantra number 10. Atmajnana prakashaka mantraha. Aham vukshasareriva kirti pustam gireriva. Sorry. Kirti pustam gireriva. Urdha pavitro vajaneva swamrtamasmi. Dravinagum savarchasam. Sumedha amrtokshitaha. Iti trisankur vedanuvachanam. I will chant again. Aham vukshasareriva. Kirti pustam gireriva. Urdha pavitro vajaneva swamrtamasmi. Travinagum savarchasam sumedha amrtokshitaha iti trisankor vedanuvachanam. A mantra like this without bhashya we cannot understand. First connection content from the previous and the next one, we become completely lost. Luckily all the Mahatmas refer to bhashya, Shankaras and other bhashyas, and then they make sense out of this. So Aham vrukshasya reriva. This aham here is all-pervading, changeless, eternal oneness. In that totality of being and existence, where nothing, body, mind, intellect, all these things are only Appearances have no reality. Now, from that level of realization, a Rishi called Trishanku, he is making the statements. Iti Vedanvachanam Trishankoho of Trishanku. That Iti Trishankoho Vedanvachanam is the last line in this mantra. Those who do Brahma Yajna daily read this. Brahma Yajna is one of the karma, one of the activities of people as a part of the respect to rishis. It comes for those who are Krishna Yajur Veda Sakhis, they read this as a part of the Upanishad. You said one mantra from each sections. From Vyakarana, you take one first three sloka, first three mantra, first three sutras. From Brahma Sutras, you take first three sutras, like that. In the part of the Brahma Yajna, daily you do that. So this is for the Upanishad part of Veda, Shukla Krishna Yajur Veda, you chant this. Those who do Brahma Yajna daily. So, Iti Trishankor Veda Anuvachanam. This is the statement, Veda Anuvachanam, declaration of Vedas. After attaining knowledge. Veda here means knowledge. Because Bhagavan has already explained, Vidya here means Jnana. Iti Trishankor Vedanuvachanam. Anuvachanam is following Veda, I mean realization, self-realization. So this is a statement from absolute being to us out of love. What is this? Aham vrukshasya reriva. Reriva means I am the support, sustainer, like Gayatri mantra, savituhu, like that. Vrukshasya means sansara vruksha. I am the support of the samsara vruksha. Everything rises in me in that infinite existence consciousness. Everything flashes in me. Billions of Brahmajis flash in me. Bhagavatam it says. The whole thing is samsara. Which changes the samsara. Aham vrukshasya reriva. I am the sustainer of the whole existential manifestations in existence. And I can withdraw, and then I can also experience it. And I can see them coming out. There is a mantra, I used to love this sloka. I still love this from Kaivalya Upanishad. Mayye vasakalam jatam, mayi sarvam pratishthitam, mayi sarvam layam yanti, tad brahmadvaya mastmaham, tad brahmadvaya masmyaham. Kaivalya Upanishad comes. Mayye vasakalam jatam, everything rises in me. Mayi sarvam pratishthitam, everything is having reality in me. Pratishtha means reality. Mayi, in me. If you withdraw your attention, I just said in Sthitaprajna Lakshana, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjan rasopyasya parandruštva. If you withdraw your attention, objects also don't, they withdraw automatically. Mayi sarvam layam yati. Everything merges in me. There rises in me and merges in me. Tad brahmadvayam asmyaham. That Brahma and me are one. That is what Trishanku is also saying. What I just read it is from Kaivalya Upanishad. So here, aham vrukshasya reriva. In one Upanishads are just very. I am the support of the whole samsara vriksha. Kirti prustin gireriva. My fame means vibhuti. Bhagavan Krishna, chapter 10, he says, vibhuti. My fame is as high as the peak of the mountain. Usually, peak of the mountain is used to indicate infinite. Chapter 10, Sri Krishna, I remember, he says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimadurjitam eva va tatta devava gachantam mama tejomsa sambhavam. Krishna says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam. Wherever there is a special good quality, visist, vibhuti, mat, srimadurjita mevacha, any glory, any glitter or glory, tatta, urjita means power, tatta devava gacchatam, no, that is only a part of me, that infinite presence, in the light of which everything operates. So we should learn to look down, not look through here. But by meditation, by the spiritual knowledge, and then being pure, reveling in that pureness, we can do that. Between thoughts, you can meditate. No thoughts. Extend the gaps. Okay. So we'll complete this in the next class. It's a small mantra, but it's very powerful mantra. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.